Okay, so our session today is all about giving feedback, and I'm going to kind of center that around Google Classroom because that will be the tool that most of us are using for feedback. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to launch Google Classroom. I've got a new tab, go to my 9 tiles and get Classroom. So I have shared a task with you all in your classrooms, whether you're Mid Lothian or East Lothian, and that is just an example so that I can talk you through what each of the ways of giving feedback are, and also for you to get the student view so you can see what students see for how this assignment looks. So we're going to focus on commenting on documents individually, commenting on the task in Classroom as a private comment, and creating rubrics. The other thing I will show, so long as we've got time, is using Screencastify to give verbal feedback. Because obviously not everybody is able to give verbal feedback, or to read their feedback, sorry. And also, as I forgot to do this last week when I was doing screen recording, for those of you who are unable to install extensions, I will show you how to do a screen recording in PowerPoint, and that'll be at the very end because I completely forgot about that. Obviously, as I said last week, I always think about online first and don't really tend to think of PowerPoint first. Okay, and is there this the way they get their assignments as an email? So yes, so what you will see every time I set an assignment in Classroom, you'll probably get an email to say that there's something there. I've set the one for this demonstration this afternoon with a due date of this evening, just so that you can get an idea of how the students see it and how they interact with it all. So the first thing I am doing is I am just going to open up the Classroom. I'm going to use a demo one initially, and then I'll go back into the task, just so that you can see how I set up the rubric, because that's something I didn't go over in either of the Classroom sessions. And it's certainly something that I haven't used with students. To be honest, I just totally recapped it all today because it is quite a new feature. It's only been about the last, well, not even a year yet. So what I'm going to do is this is just to create a rubric. So this is you creating that success criteria that you can measure and mark against. If you're not comfortable using rubrics, you don't have to use them. So I'll just create an assignment. And this is an example and just a rubric example. Obviously, as I always stress, make sure your instructions and your titles are clear and follow kind of the same structure every single time. Then over at the side here, this is the bit I've ignored previously, is this rubric and also the originality reports. Both of these things I have got on the assignment I have shared with you in the Classroom. You'll be able to get an idea of what that looks like, and we'll skip to that very shortly. Creating a rubric, what you can do is you can either reuse one that you've done previously or create a new one. Now, this is just your marking criteria. So your marking criteria, you can take this from whether your school have got clear criteria. Certainly in East Lothian, you might take one of the, so for example, the technology framework, you could use that and use some of that as your criteria. You might even just go straight to the benchmarks from Education Scotland and actually just use them to create your own scale. And this is a way, so you can title this. So the example I've given in the assignment I've set you today is your kind of writing. So it may be that your grammar, and then I will give different points values. And if you keep an eye on this bit at the top here, I can't zoom in too far, that number will change. So I can change the points value from 5, and then accurate grammar, right? And the students can see the rubric, so they can see what's expected and how they will achieve the highest grade. So I would say this is probably more upper primary, or at least into secondary school, that you would be using the rubrics, just to get them used to self-assessing as well, so they can kind of see where their work may sit, and they can give that as a private comment. I could do 4 for mostly accurate, and so on. And you'll see that points values change to out of 5 because that is the top point that's available here. And then I can add another points value and I can give that different titles and that will change. I'm not going to go over too much here, because if I skip into the classroom that I've already created a rubric in, and that's the Techie Tea Party one, and that's the assignment for online feedback, I can see the rubric is attached. So that looks different to other tasks that I've created, because I don't have a rubric assigned. So there are no rubrics attached to any of these. But now I can see the actual marking criteria. So this can actually help speed up your marking as well. And I see 2 people have handed this in, which is really useful. So I can click on this and I can see what this rubric looks like. So this is just all your marking. So if you want to give points values, and then you can see the overall marks in the classroom, then that's quite a useful tool. If I click on these 2 that are handed in, so I will go on to this one here. And then I can click on, once this loads, you'll see down the side, I can see the rubric here to help me with my marking. So I can quickly go through this all, and then I can say, right, word choice, I'll give you 2, this will give you 3, and then it works out what the mark is for you. So if I keep that as 100 for all, it works out basically the percentage that they have got out of that 100. So that's a nice quick way of, assessing against criteria for the students to see that. The next thing I'm going to show you, so I'll come out of this piece of work for now, and then I'll go into another piece. I'll go into Lauren's piece of work at the moment. The way I got here, just to recap, so I've gone into the classwork. This is where all my assignments are for you as a class. And then I have gone into the work. I can see who's handed in or who it's been assigned to. Yeah, it's one of those things where once you get your head around it, certainly it's not something that I've used with students. I've heard of people using it, and I know there's some schools in, I think it's Highland, that are actually using this in secondary schools for English marking against benchmarks. So it is useful, or they are using it for their national assessments. So if you're thinking about your Nat 5s, you could actually put in your criteria there, so you can start to think about creating examples of work. Certainly right now when we're evidencing everything online, the students can see the rubric. So if you click on that piece of work, you should see that there's a rubric attached to it when you open it. I can't show you the student view as I'm not a student in any of these classrooms, unfortunately. So you will see that there is a rubric and you can see what that criteria is, and you're welcome to go and look at that now. So I went into classwork, saw my assignment. I can click on the handed in, doesn't really matter which I click on. I can see who it's been assigned to. So even if your students haven't handed in their work, you can see their work. So by clicking on that assigned bit here, I can click and I can give them feedback. They just haven't handed it in to me. By clicking on those who have handed it in, so if you are aware that all your students are going to hand it in once it's completed, you can then click on their piece of work. And yes, if you have made a copy for each student like I have done, you'll see their names are in all of the documents along the bottom. So that's, each of these has got a copy. So every student has got their own copy, and you'll see the names going along there. So I'll click on Catherine's. And this opens their work. So if you haven't attached a rubric, all that will be missing along the side is these rubric bits. You will still have the mark and the private comments. You can add those in without having a rubric there. So the rubric's just a marking scale. It was a feature that was asked for a lot, certainly in other countries, more so I think in the States, for the way in which they work. Certainly not something that I've used in my own teaching, but it can be useful, certainly if you just want to generate marks quite quickly. So now what I can do, I can either just return this work. So say I look at it, I'm like, this is not finished. I can just quickly return this to Catherine. Or I can start to go into some commenting. Now, we did talk about this last week in the collaborating in Google Docs session about the suggesting mode or the editing. So it automatically goes to suggesting mode when you are opening someone else's work that they've handed into Google Classroom. rather than editing. So it means that if I start typing, you'll see, although my typing skills are terrible today, if I start typing, it's not actually changing it. It's just suggesting that I start typing. So Catherine could then, once I return this, start to accept those changes. I'm not editing the work itself. She has still got ownership of those changes. Now I can come out of that, I can delete that and go, actually, no, that was the wrong idea. Other thing I can do, I'm just going to hide this bar along the bottom here. Other thing I can do is I can use a comment bank to add comments quite quickly to a piece of work. So the comment bank is here. Now mine's empty because I've not used it. But we can create a comment. Deleting comments, you should be able to do. I think there's a little menu. If I create a comment, I've just seen someone's asked how to delete a comment. So comment it, and then by clicking on the more options, so the 3 dots, I often call it the meatball menu, you can then click on there, delete, and then delete. And then that just removes it from that document completely. And so what you can do is you can add comments to your bank. So if you want to have, certainly if you're going to be using the same comments over and over again, or if you find yourself using the same comments several times, you're probably best just adding that into your comment bank to save you having to type it and get annoyed saying the same thing over and over, which I'm sure some of us have done in the past when we've been marking. So you can add multiple comments. So I could just do great use of adjectives. I'll do another one. So consider using some punctuation and try rewording. Obviously, your comments will be much better than mine. So there you go. That's 3 comments. All I had to do to create several was to do a new line in between them. And that was just by hitting that return button on my keyboard. So I've got these comments that I can now use. And then I can start to go through this. And then I could maybe use, you can just copy and paste the comment. So I can copy and paste it, copy and paste that in. And then I can comment. I could then, if I just start typing, I might just want to use, I think it's hashtag. So if you use the hashtag, this is me remembering from training I've had in the past, it will then start to populate the comment that you've used in the past. So if I do hashtag, consider using some punctuation, I can add that in here. And then one more, I will just do great use of adjectives. So I would suggest using that comment bank just to save you some time, but obviously there will be times you need to personalize that comment so that it's individual to the students. I think they will catch on to the fact that you're using the same comments over and over again. But certainly for a quick speed, it's very useful. And then I can always add a private comment to the piece of work. And some of you have used this feature in Classroom before, as you've been private commenting on assignments to me, and then I've been replying to you. So it's quite useful in that way. I can then return this piece of work. So I can return just this submission. I can return multiple. I can also skip through. So at the top here, you'll see it's Catherine's work. I can then click on this arrow, and then this will take me to the next person's piece of work. So without me having to come out and then go back, I can do that quite quickly. It will save, she says famously, yes, it will save your feedback before you've returned it. So you can then go through everyone's work and then return all at once to save having to return individually. So the bar on the right-hand side, Catherine, I'm just seeing your question there. This is, the bar only comes up when you go through the assignments in Google Classroom. So this is from me going to the who has handed in their work. I have clicked on the work, or if they haven't handed it in. So if I open up, let's go for this one here. Because I've opened it from Google Classroom, I get this bar. So you'll see in the address a bar, I think you can see it just along the top, it's through Classroom. This isn't through Google Docs on its own. So you won't get this bar in Google Docs. You will only be able to get it by accessing it in Google Classroom. Sorry, I should have clarified that bit. So you'll see along the top, my tabs all say online feedback as well. And no, the shortcut doesn't happen for private comments. That's the only thing. So yeah, unfortunately not for the private comments. Right, so I've got that. I can return this piece of work and then return. So I can just return that. I've obviously not given her a score for a rubric. So I can then just quickly go through that, do that anyway, and do 3, and then return. Do that again. So then it's actually gone to her. We'll say not returned. And it will say, so along here, it'll say no flagged passages because I turned on originality reports. Now, this isn't really something that I use much. So it's just saying no flagged passages. That just means that according to this, there is nothing that has any plagiarism in it. That originality report is something I would say is more for an S5, S6 level. And basically you will see when you open up that assignment that you can run an originality report. It's not like, for those of you who have been at university using things like Turnitin, and it won't just be a secret thing where students are flagged for plagiarism following it. The students have ownership, so they're the ones who check for plagiarism in their work. They check it 3 times and then they hand in the work once they're happy with it. And it just flags that if they've forgotten to reference a piece of work, for example, that when they've been doing their research. So that's the comment bank. This is a really nice way to do this. You will need to return it if you want your students to see these comments in the document. If you are only writing private comments, you don't need to return it simply because they won't be accessing any comments in the work. But certainly if you want them to action any feedback, so if you want a student to go and fix any work, you know, do a redraft of the work, then you will need to return it, because if you do not return it, they will then only have view-only access, so they won't be able to edit anything. Seen some questions coming through. Yeah, so if you're only, Gus has just shared, so if you're saying the same private comment to everyone, you can mark and on scores hit return and then put the private comment in once for all to get privately rather than typing in for each individual. And if you're returning work, they will need to hand it in again. So once you're happy that they've submitted it all, you don't need to return it, okay? Just returning it will flag that it's still due in. So if you keep getting resubmitted work with nothing changed, is that are people just looking at it? It could be. So if a student has, they may take it, so you can hand in work and then unsubmit it so that the student can unsubmit it themselves so that they can then go back in and edit, or they may not change it. They may just be double checking to see what happens, or they might just be playing about the Google Classroom because they're not sure what that button does. So certainly that would be what I would suggest they are saying. I'm just going to close this. So that was the main bit there with the comments. The next thing you can do is you can then, so you'll see along here, I've got 1 marked, 6 handed in, and 252 assigned. Obviously your classes aren't going to be this huge. I'm not going to go through 252 pieces of work. So the other thing you can do is you can do private comments. And let me just see, I can do select all students. I can return the work to all students at once. And here, this is what Gus was saying, you can do a private comment to all. So you can do a private comment to everybody if it's only those who have handed it in. So that's what I've got here. It's all those students who have handed it in. I can then do a great work. Thank you for submitting your writing, and then just a generic comment to all. They won't see that that is to all of them. They will get that individually and then return, just to save on the workload as well there. So you'll see that's all, everyone's returned, saying they're all marked, or there's some assigned as well. Okay, anything here? So not returning work is fine or even preferred. So if I get work, read it, write a private comment, but I don't require any editing or resubmission, I can just comment but not return. Yes. So that's what I've suggested to my friends. It basically saves people from having to resubmit their work all the time, and saves you getting all of the emails as well. Certainly it generates quite a lot of emails when students are handing in work. So I would say if there's no edits and it's just you need to acknowledge that you've got it, because I know some students always like to ask that you've seen their work, just do a quick private comment to say thank you, a wee bit of a comment on the work, or just just your generic thank yous if there's no need for any other comments, and then just add that to the work and you're fine. And then showing that again. So that was highlighting all of the students here. I returned it. I can't do that again because I've just returned it to them. And then I can add a private comment, or I can just email selected students. So if I wanted to go, let's just go sort by status, all of those who have assigned their work, I can then give them their own email with the work. If I go into those that it's been assigned to, again, I can click on here, and then I could do a private comment in this on its own. If your pupils are returning work in lots of different ways, I think it's quite important to try and keep it structured in the assignment part of Google Classroom, just to save you that whole management of having multiple places to check whether they're sharing it with you in Google Drive, they're uploading a piece of work, or I think it's just trying to keep it for yourself, to try and keep it as easy as possible so that you're not going to miss a piece of work. But also it kind of keeps a bit of structure for your students so that they know that they're handing it into Classroom. Think about this as like your finished work tray. I mean, I used to have one of those in my classroom, popping their jotter in there. It's like popping their work into that just online instead. And what I'm going to do now, I am going to skip on just to doing verbal feedback, because I think that could be quite useful for some students. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing from this screen, and I'm going to share from my laptop so that I can do the comment part of it. And yeah, it could just be that they're not uploading it and they need to attach. So yes, what they would need to do, if I just open up a classroom before I stop sharing the screen that I am a student in, I'll open this one. I like the name of this one, Giggle, and open up this piece of work that I have got due. You'll see I've got an attachment there already. But what I can do is I can add or create. So they just need to add or create an attachment and upload the piece of work into there. If they are sharing it with you in Google Drive, try and encourage them to add it to the assignment in Classroom instead. There are some videos on this. I will try and get one and share it with you so that you can share it with your students to support them. And yes, it's a bit of training. Gus is just saying that it is just repetition. Keep reiterating that you want it shared in this place and not on Google Drive, and just share the why behind that. And that's simply because you could easily miss it in Google Drive, and it keeps it all in one place and in one folder for you. So I'm just going to stop sharing from this screen, and I'm going to share from my laptop to show you Screencastify for verbal feedback. And then I'll jump back onto my other screen to show you PowerPoint for video screen recording as well. I'll just stop presenting from here, and I will start presenting from this screen here. So I'll just share. Now, there may be a point where this stops recording, and at that point, please just put it in the comments. So if you stop seeing my screen, there is a funny thing between Screencastify and between screen sharing on Hangouts and Meet. That will mean that it'll stop screen sharing at some point. So what I am going to do now is I am just going to show you this. So this is a document I've got here. Imagine this is something that has been handed in. I could also go into Classroom. I might actually do this. This is probably a bit more meaningful. Just admit this. So I will go into here. I'll open up that classwork from before. And my laptop is a little bit slower than my PC, so we'll just have to be a little bit more patient with it. Phone hands in. Here we go. If I open up this document, I can reduce the size of this bit here so that when I'm recording the feedback, it's not going to have all of the criteria down the side. So I'll do that now. That's hidden out the way. And now what I can do is I can use Screencastify, or as I'm going to show shortly, the PowerPoint screen recording tool as well. And then I can start recording feedback. So let's just get this started. I did show how to use Screencastify at the end of, it was Wednesday or Thursday session. They're all a bit of a blur to me at the moment. And I will record just this browser tab on Screencastify. And I'll record this. So I'm not in this. My webcam is not switched on. You can choose to have your webcam on if it's more useful for students, or if students prefer to see you giving the feedback as well. It's up to you. Obviously, just make sure you've got a good background as well. So now I can start recording. So if you're giving verbal feedback in this way, I would suggest that you highlight the area. Oh, is it not going to let me highlight it? I'll come into this one. So you would then highlight the area you're talking about. I'm going to stop recording. This is the great thing about doing these things live. Let me just stop this. It's not going to let me stop it. Here we go. It's just been really slow. So I am going to come out of that because I don't think it's working too well in there. So I'll do it again here. Stop opening things. Here we go. So I'll do that again on this tab here. It will work the same. It's just, as I said, my laptop is a bit slow. It doesn't seem to like when I'm doing all of these things at the same time. It goes a little bit moody with me. So if this was the piece of work, I would suggest that you highlight the area you're talking about. So if I was talking about this sentence here, again, wakey, wakey laptop, I would then just give that feedback on that area. So if I was asking for suggestions, if I wanted them to maybe think about the punctuation, or if it was something in a research task, the source of that research as well. I could then move on and start talking about this paragraph here. I could then add actual comments to the side as well whilst doing the screen recording to support the students with their reminders and their prompts of what feedback it is and why I've said that in their document as well. This has been very slow. And just talk through the document. You could talk about your positive just as you would normally do, but just it means that the students have then got access to it. Once you're happy with that, there are also in Screencastify, there's some markup tools. I just closed them. Once you're happy with that, you can then stop the recording. And then what that will do is it'll open it up in its own window, as it always does. And then what you need is this copy shareable link. And then this is what we can add into the comment. So you'll see on the screen here, it's highlighting everything, it's talking through, and yes, my voice is recorded at the same time. You'll see I have this option to click to unmute. I can then hear myself blathering away in my headphones here, and I can pause that. So it is, and you'll see wherever I click, it highlights where I've selected as well. So copy that shareable link, come back into that document, and then I could just pop in at the top here, and I'll do it in block caps, feedback, select the word, and then we can pop in the comment. So that will go into the comments. I can click on this to open up that video, and then the student is able to see that video, and then they can listen back to my blathering away. Obviously, this is, so here we go. So they can see all of that. They can see the recording. They can, I mean, I'm hearing my own voice, so it's making me go a bit funny when I'm talking. And yes, so they can see all of this here. That's one I actually recorded earlier. I don't know why it's not copied the correct link, but I have certainly done one where I've highlighted and clicked, made it look easy. I've used Screencastify for a few years now, so I am far more comfortable with it. But yeah, just simply all you do, have the document open, click on Screencastify, record whether it's your whole screen or the browser tab. If you're only working in one document, just the browser tab is enough. record it, and then once you've got that video, copy the shareable link into a comment in the document, as I've done here. Then they can click on that and it will load their feedback. So that's verbal feedback for you there. Any questions about that? Just pop them into the chat. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm aware of the time and I'm sure many of you have got to rush off, so please don't worry, I am still recording, so this will then be available on the video afterwards. I am going to start recording on my other screen again. Screen one. And let's just go into this. So the next thing I'm going to show you is recording your screen in PowerPoint. And Stuart Brown, who's on the call, will be proud of me for this one. So I am going to go into PowerPoint. And this is a workaround. So I have asked about extensions in East Lothian laptops. And unfortunately, it's not something that IT can do, simply because we're in a business continuity model and no changes are happening. But there is the option to do screen recording in PowerPoint. Now, I don't use this very often. Probably screen recording is the only thing I use it for. And that's if I'm on a device that has no option but PowerPoint for screen recording. It's kind of my last resort, if I'm honest. So you can go into Insert and then Video in PowerPoint. So that's just under the Insert menu. Can't really zoom in on the screen, which is annoying. So the video is along the top. Here it's one of the last three tools, or there's actually no screen recording. Ignore me. So insert screen recording. Then what we can do is I can highlight the area of my screen that I want it to record. So I want it to record basically the whole screen. I just don't want the menu at the bottom. So you'll see this kind of red dotted line along the sides here. This is where it will record. So just make it big enough that everything you want to record will fit in. And then I can click record. So you've all got this built into PowerPoint on your laptops. If you can't use Screencastify, this is your go-to. Then you can select record. So 3, 2, 1. And then I can open up the student's work. So let's go into, say it was this Google Slides. And then I can start. Now, I don't have a microphone on my PC, but on your laptops, you've all got microphones. So I could then just talk through the feedback, blah, 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 and then stop. Then I can come up to the top here, stop recording. Then it inserts that recording into PowerPoint. So I can play it just to see what it looks like. So that's it playing now on my screen. You'll see it's recording everything that I've done on that screen. Okay, so then what I can do is I can click on this, right click on it, save media as, and then this will save it as a media file. So save media as. So what is the benefit of using Screencastify rather than PowerPoint? There's less steps for sharing it because you're about to see this here. So I'm saving the media. I could then do EM feedback, date it so you're not getting confused by what it is, and try and make it a bit clearer. So save that. That will then save onto my computer. So now if I come back into that document here, so I'm going to open up a blank Google Doc just to save me editing this one. Words, or if I just pop feedback actually. Then what I can do, so I've got that document right now on my computer. I need to have it in my Google Drive to share it easily. And again, this is why Screencastify is a little less clunky. And Stuart is also saying that PowerPoint is lower quality video than Screencastify or Flipgrid. Flipgrid's another alternative. It's based in the browser, actually. I've not used it much, but I'm sure Stuart would be able to support. He has uploaded some videos into the East Lothian classroom. I'll share them over onto the Mid Lothian one as well to help you with using Flipgrid. So now I need to upload that screen recording. Let's see if I can find it now. Documents, EM feedback, open that. That will upload. So you'll see this isn't too timely. This is quite slow in comparison to that Screencastify, but again, it's like anything. Once you've got the workflow and you're used to it, it will be much faster. And now if I go into this here, I can then get the shareable link. It will ask me to download it as well, which is the other issue. I can then get the shareable link from the share option, and then I can pop that into here. So there, it is just a bit of a pain, if I'm honest, but the Screencastify version, you'll have noticed, is a better workflow. So if you are able to use it, David Gilmore did say that there are Chromebooks available for staff. There's plenty of Chromebooks out there. So if you know your school's got Chromebooks, it may be worthwhile seeing if you're able to access one, because then you can get Screencastify on that. If you've got any other questions about giving feedback, you'll have seen that adding comment there. I think I was asked actually if a student is uploading a piece of work, so say they upload a picture and the quality is quite poor and you're trying to give feedback as a private comment, that can be quite challenging. So just make it clear that, you know, they need to have a picture where you can at least see what the work is. And then when you're giving that private comment, try and keep it to the same structure as you would normally give a comment in the classroom. Obviously, if they're given a piece of work of their writing, it can be quite difficult to highlight exactly what piece of the writing you want them to, or you want to comment on directly. But just try your best. It might be best doing that screen recording bit there to talk through that picture so you can talk about that first line and make it a bit easier for them to understand. But yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to stop recording. So if you do have any questions or anything else, please pop them into the chat. But again, aware of the time, and I know that you've all got lots to get